to KGK and Enthusiast. Today is the start of the third season. Today on the show, we will be starting off the season with a very intense topic, as we often say. Of course, it's about the lineup of vehicles. Ford's lineup is a prime example for me on this episode. But of course, there are many more things to talk about. Now, before that, thank you very much for joining my channel so far and watching my videos. And please give me your opinions and your opinions about my content. What do you think I should do more and what should I talk about next? Of course, subscribe to my channel and hit a like and sub to my channel and hit the bell icon. Now, Ford is a very prestigious brand. They have the best-selling vehicle in the United States, the Ford F-150. They have the Bronco, very competent, very popular, extremely brilliant, and there's no question about it. Bronco is a very cool vehicle. So is the Ranger. Ford is on a sort of revival part at the moment. They have revived the Ranger name. It's back in the States. The Bronco is back. And of course, the controversial Mustang Mach-E. Now, I am a person who believes it's fine, but Ford has definitely pissed off quite a few Mustang enthusiasts by using the name Mustang. Remember, this is the same group of enthusiasts who rejected the idea of a front-wheel drive Mustang in the 1980s. So I guess you get the idea right now, don't you? The front-wheel drive Mustang, which was removed off the equation. So, let's get to the big business. Now, the Ford lineup at the moment is filled with more SUVs and luxury pickups than actual cars. The cars you get is the Mustang and the Ford GT, and the Ford Fusion is now being discontinued. So, to be fair, I start to feel like Ford is making a huge mistake here. Very soon, the Ford prices will increase. So what happens for Ford with their lineup with so much belief on SUVs for their cash cow? Now, I'm going to say the F-150 will always remain a solid seller because the F-150 is available in many different engines, from diesels to V8s, EcoBoost V6s, so that's fairly competent. The Mustang also comes in many different engine forms as well, so solid. The problem is, where does Ford go for vehicles like the Expedition or vehicles like, the Explorer or the Escape? The Ford Escape is a prime example. The Ford Escape has a European variant and a North American model. The North American model looks a bit dull. The European model looks pretty. Now there's a reason for that. The Europe have less restrictions on safety requirements compared to North America. But of course that could change in the future with the circumstances in the world. Now the Ford lineup is also cut their production of the Fusion. Now let's talk about the vehicles that they discontinued in the last 2-3 years. They discontinued the Ford Focus, Ford Fiesta, and now they're on the Ford Fusion. So that's up to 3 vehicles, 3 to 4, right there. And of course, don't forget the Focus RS models and such as that. So also, this is the thing. But if you think about it that way, Ford has certainly didn't quite make the decision on the right move. Now, one of the key GM executives said that demand for saloons are coming back. It will come back. Now, it's a very fair assessment to make. And I believe it's a good assessment to make as well. Because if you think about it, he's not wrong. Because in 2008, when the oil global crisis hit the world, before that SUVs was once again the buck of the trend like now. And suddenly the cars like the Prius and the Yaris's, the Fiat 500s, Minis, they started going off shelves rather fast, significantly. So Ford always needed to have something small and cute, something a decent seller. So that's the reality about that. This is the current Ford lineup. Now for me, the weakest vehicle in the Ford lineup right now is the Ford Edge. The Ford Edge is neither pretty, it's neither high-end, it's neither premium, but it's a mid-size SUV, 2-row mid-size SUV. Now, it does an ST model, but it disgraces the ST model, by certainly putting an ST badge on it because it's not a ST. Now the Ford Explorer ST makes far sense. You get over 400 horsepower with it, and it makes some far more rational sense. But of course, the Edge ST, I don't know if it makes sense or not. And of course, don't forget the oddballs and the Ford EcoSport. It's more than a decade old. And yet, for some reason, they are still selling it. They are still making it. In Europe, Ford sells a Ford Puma. The Ford Puma, which is actually a far newer one. Again, the Puma is also being cannibalized. It used to be a luxury sports car. Sorry, it's now a subcompact SUV. Or a crossover, which you like to call it. Of course, the F series are those companion vehicles that often I like to say sensible enough. I mean, you can have an F-150 from something as basic to something so luxurious that it's better than any Mercedes or BMW. I just simply say, trade your Mercedes or BMW for F-150 Platinum or Limited, and I will not. I will make sure. Can tell you. I can guarantee you won't regret that decision. That's a bit of reality. Pickups are actually more partial than saloons some ways, and they also look more butch, muscular. That's the problem. You see, that's the words I said. It's true. Imagine that word goes the entire country when Europe goes totally opposite. So the Europeans have a reason for their lack of love towards massive vehicles. For their roads are small, and because of that they often can't say it suits them. The infamous story is the Hummer H1. The Hummer H1 was too big for the European roads, and finding first time Jeremy Clarkson infamously took a Hummer H1 to a very small town. There was a old woman who looked at the Hummer. It was like this. Yet she was stunned. She never saw something big as that. Look, I don't blame Europeans. I get it. Europeans are cheap in some ways. They don't know what it's like to live life for the fullest. Maybe they don't. But again, I don't blame them either. Their fuel prices are far expensive than the United States. In the United States, fuel is cheaper than a water bottle. It's cheaper than a coffee from Starbucks. I'm not joking. It's cheaper than Starbucks coffee. So come on. Who cares about that, right? In Europe, petrol is more expensive than your Starbucks coffee, or cheaper than your rent in some ways, in some places in Europe. So obviously there's a reason why they can't say good, because they can't say it. If you're Ford, you have accompanied that problem fairly well with their European lineup that's been there for nearly 60-70 years. So Ford is fine on that regard. But the reality is that Ford doesn't have enough limo cars. Now let's talk about some vehicles who are going to be very happy with the quittance of the Ford Focus and etc. The Toyota Corolla. Now the Toyota Corolla remains a very strong seller in the States and around the world. You look at the Nissan Sentra taking sales, the lost market share from General Motors to Ford. They're taking those sales. You look at Mazda 3 doing exceptionally well. You look at these brands and say, if they can sell compact cars, why can't Ford sell them in the States? Why? You got factories building the States. And how much of factories you really want for the Ford Bronco? How much more you need and how much more? And relying on your most expensive models for profit is not a very good thing to do. Yes, profit margins are high. But the profit margins also may be high, but people might also not pay too much money for them in the process. The current Ford lineup is fairly minimalist when it comes to limo luxury cars. Now, prime example for you is you can't have a Ford Fusion because now that's gone. The Mustang is there, but to be honest, the Mustang is a muscle car. It's an enthusiast. It's not a basic one. It's not affordable. And the Ford GT is a hypercar which costs $1 million. I mean, where is the affordable one? Where is the legendary Ford Taurus? No, there is no Ford Taurus either because they stopped making it. But in China, you can buy a Ford Taurus. Now, I'm going to say this very clearly. When it comes for tastes, the Chinese consumers love saloons more than us. In fact, you can buy a Ford Taurus in China, in Chinese spec. You can buy the Cadillac CT6 even in China once it is discontinued in here. You can buy a Buick Regal in China right now. So you can understand the logical point. The Chinese buyers tend to say SUVs are fine, but the saloons are the ultimate state symbol. Now, I agree with the Chinese buyers on that. Look, it takes a very good SUV to be a state symbol, but of course be a symbol. Now, I believe the current Ford lineup needs to do is they have to bring the Ford Focus back. They have to bring the Ford Fiesta back. If not now, they have to bring it at least within the next 2-3 years because people can't afford to buy quite expensive vehicles within the upcoming few quarters and sales. Trust me, they will not able to. So Ford, please bring back your Fiesta and the Ford Focus. Not as a hatchback, at least it's called the Ford Focus Active or something. Bring it back because people need their Ford Focuses. They might not tell you now they need them, but there will be certainly a time when Ford says, we want them. We can't pay the big fuel bills. When that time comes, Ford is in the dumps again. The F-150 might save its ass again, but for how long remains a mystery. Even the F-150 might still come down. But again, the F-150 might give sales, but it's an entire company. Come on, it's an entire company you've got to think about. The Mustang used to have some good engine options, the V8s, the 6 cylinders, but now no longer the case the Mustang either. But the Mustang never needed to have a 6 cylinder in the first place, so shalulu, no one call that one. Of course, last thing I want to talk about before in this episode is the Ford Escape. The Ford Escape is quite interesting compact luxury SUV. It's posh, I've seen it, it's very luxurious, it's very high end, it's premium. But of course the reality is it's more of a punchline than anything else. I mean, it's hybrid drivetrain, it's great, it's quite powerful, but as would you know, it's not my type of compact SUV. It is not quite good enough to compete against a RAV4 or a CR-V. And the reality is the Japanese are still killing it even after decades and decades of success. So that's the reality about it anyway. And of course, what Ford needs to do right now is this. Ford, make the enthusiasts happy. Not every enthusiast can afford to spend $60,000 on a Ford Mustang. Give them a Focus RS. Toyota might bring a GI RS. Why can't Ford bring a Focus RS? Ford, please give us a Focus RS. And also in goodwill, can you buy Mitsubishi for a change? Because Mitsubishi is dying. Can you buy the Mitsubishi brand? I can guarantee you, Mitsubishi brand will succeed fairly well. Because at the moment they are not doing very good and I think they want your expertise. So please Ford, buy Mitsubishi. Please. Thank you very much. So thank you very much for joining me on the show on this opening episode of KG Ken Enthusiast 3rd season episode 1. Thank you very much. Join me on the upcoming and follow up my previous episodes as well. Thank you very much.